earlier today, he got the symptoms of myocarditis from the stress of trying to spell myocarditis. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on a choice. We're going to mandate you get it on. Elisha Krauss is back. Going to do the news for us today. Good to see you, my dear.
Thank you.
I have topics that I wrote down, things to talk to you about.
Really?
Yeah. Figured you'd be good for a few of these.
Okay, throw them at me.
Well, I was talking to Dr. Drew today because a lot of people on the left are talking about guys. Like, how do we get to bros? Where are these bros? Where's our bro? Where's our Joe Rogan? We need a dude, you know?
Oh.
And then they're like, okay, we need to get a dude.
But what is a dude?
Well, see, the thing I'd realize is to the left, they want to synthesize a dude. They want to manufacture a dude. They're like, big burly guy drinking beer, talk about football, likes hunting and trucks, you know? And so when they recruit Tim Walz, who's a nut job pussy who wants tampons in men's rooms, they go, Tim, you got to pretend like you're a dude.
Yeah.
So what would a dude do? Well, let's get footage of you hunting, and then let's have you constantly talk. You got an international harvester. You got a truck. It's kind of like that's like a Bronco. You go.
The new ones don't count.
We'll get shots of you wrenching on your 72 international harvester, and then that's dude, because that's what dudes. It's like these people are academics. They're from academia. They don't know what dudes are. They don't like dudes. They don't experience dudes. They're not married to dudes. It's like explaining to a different culture or a different tribe like what a dude is. And so they'll go, all right, so talk about hunting, football, right? Beer. You like beer? And it's like, no, that Joe Rogan likes the UFC. He liked the UFC 25 years ago.
He's not new to it.
He likes shooting elk with a bow and arrow and then eating the elk. He wasn't told to talk about eating elk. That's what he does.
Yes.
And so I realized they're approaching it like a dumb shit, like who they are, which is academia. They don't know what it is. They want to sit down, they want to get a spreadsheet, and they want to have a discussion group, and they want to try to figure out what a dude is.
Do you remember when they had the Obamacare guy? And he looked like he was in like a Snuggie, and he had his little like ginger tea, and he was sipping on it.
Yes.
And they were supposed to try to make Obamacare look cool for people under the age of 26.
Right.
I feel like now when they're looking for the dude, they either go to like Timothy Chalamet or Tim Walz, when they should be going to, I don't know, even though he's pretty, like a Dax Shepard, Chris Pratt.
Or,
you know what I mean? Like actual manly man that can fix things and do things, you know?
They have been, I would go, as long as we're on Tim's, I'd go with Tim Tebow if I was looking for a dude.
Yeah.
All right, but here's the thing.
A dude who does really great things, by the way.
I like the guy. I'm saying they are looking for a cartoon caricature of a dude
of what they
instead
think a
of
dude is.
Because they don't know it. Well, first off, they don't like dudes. They spent the last 20 years yelling at dudes.
They simultaneously chastise men for being what they think is manly.
Right.
And then say, well, wait, how are we possibly losing their vote?
Right. So they don't like dudes. I would say, here's what I would say with them. I don't think they like black people either. They certainly don't live in neighborhoods populated with black people.
It's the NIMBY mentality.
Yeah, they're not huge fans of black people. There's things they could do to help black people, like talk about fatherless homes, which they never talk about. They just talk about keeping parks open an extra hour or something like that. They talk about everything except for the thing that would affect the black community in a positive way. So one could argue that they're not really into the black community, but they need the black community and they want to talk about the black community. And now they're doing the same thing with men. They don't like them. They certainly don't like dudes. It's very gauche, you know, to work on your own car, get grease under your fingernails, go hunting. This is all stuff they hate. They want everyone to go to college. They want to cancel every shop class and replace it with some DEI information center or something. Yeah. They don't like it, but now they got caught and they're like, all right, you know how we've been pretending to care and like black people for the last 40 years. We got to do that with heterosexual dudes.
Yeah, and
now.
I think that we saw that this last election cycle definitely proved that they don't have the Rust Belt Union vote anymore. And I think that they just so heavily relied on that for such a long time of pulling in that dude vote that they don't have it anymore, though.
Right. So here's the fundamental problem. You cannot synthesize and manufacture somebody who likes bow hunting and UFC
100%.
and football and trucks, and you either work on stuff or you don't work on stuff. You can't make the guy into a handyman or a carpenter. You can't synthesize it.
You can't like place him in a Home Depot and expect him to be able to DIY things if he's like doesn't even know where a Home Depot is.
Right. So that's not going to work. Then the next plan is well, then we'll just find a guy who does all that stuff naturally, works, hunts, all
like
that.
My husband,
heterosexual.
But turns out he's a conservative.
Right. But that guy's not down with your kooky, insane, he, she, third bathroom, women playing sports. So you have a fundamental problem. You can't manufacture the guy, and anyone who is that is not going along with your crazy shit.
Yep.
So I would argue you're going to have to change your crazy shit to attract that guy.
But I think that they're so embedded in it and they're in such a bubble of their own making that they have other people saying to them, yeah, that's a really good idea. We should do this. Like, look at all the Kamala Waltz ads that tried to make him look manly. Or look at, even now, when he talks and he's like, well, I was brought in to get the man vote. And he's bragging about it. And it's like, my dude, you didn't do a good job of getting that vote. You would be what is it? I guess he would be vice president of the United States if that were the case. I almost called him the second dude because he was like a second dude to her.
Yes. I study this. I'm a dude. I'm sensitive, but know how to fix things. I like fixing things.
Yeah.
But it was never grafted on me, so I like tools and stuff and cars and stuff like that.
It's innate in some people, and in others it's not. I mean, we've talked about this before. I think women are usually nicer to look at, sometimes better to be around, more emotional, more nurturing. There's some things that you just are not going to innately change about the DNA structure of like men and women and how different we are.
Yeah, and that's part of their problem is they're trying to bend nature and science and human behavior in some direction that it won't go.
Well, for probably, you could argue the 60s for sure, but even beforehand, academia has been trying to make women act more like men and men may act more like women. And I don't think that that is like true feminism or true equality, and I don't think that that's going to be beneficial to left, right, or center.
No, and why, first off, why would you want to, I am telling you, when I meet up with somebody that is really handy on the computer and can do things that I can't do and set up the Alexa thing and program my phone and stuff like that.
Build your website, put the tour dates on there, all that stuff. Yeah.
I'm very happy. And when they find out that I have tools and can fix things that they might need to be fixed, then they're happy.
Yep.
If we both had tools and no computer skills, or both had computer skills and no tools, then neither one of us would be that happy, or at least we'd be half as happy.
Well, now you're making the argument for like what conservatives say is like the importance of the individual and what skills and abilities do they bring to the table. It doesn't matter what gender they are or what they identify as. But the left can't wrap their minds around that concept, so that's why they keep repeating these same mistakes.
Well, if you think about what academia does, is they're constantly going men 18 to 34, Hispanic women between the ages of how many Hispanics do we have on campus, how many blacks do we have on campus, how many. It's constantly segregating. And, they'll do it with penguins or they'll do it with people. That's the process of it. You know what I mean? And so they naturally go into that. It's like a default setting for them. What group are you in? Okay. You went heterosexual? Okay, good. What's your, okay, between the age of, okay, go over there. And then where are you? And then once we've segregated everyone, we're like, okay, how do we get the we'll get the gay, lesbian community over here, and then there's a Latina, whatever, and then there's the trans, and they're constantly doing that, which is a mistake. And I think they're starting to kind of figure it out, but they can't help themselves.
I think that they really need to clean house, and I hate to give advice to Democrats, but I think that they need to clean house from the Ilhan Omar's, like, radical, SJP types to the part of the LGBTQ plus community that, doesn't want this, to the trans stuff. It's too extreme. And I think that conservatives are just consistently responding to it, but they also need to be careful to not just always be responding and to be planning ahead.
I have a clip of Biden, which you've not seen.
Ooh.
But it's my favorite. But my favorite things are the ones that kind of slide under the radar of life.
Okay.
And they're not, everyone has seen footage of him falling, trying to get up the stairs of Air Force One.
Yep. Or the one where he was at the G7 summit and like all of the world leaders are trying to guide him to the spot and he's just like staring off into the distance like he's a toddler.
Well, cheap fake. That was edited. So now that's the one that catches everyone's eye. The thing that's always funny too is when he fell on the stairs, they were like, it was very windy that day. And I'm like, well, if I don't want the wind to be able to knock over the leader of the free world.
I would agree to that.
But anyway, it's very windy.
Give the guy some more Ensure. Put some weight on him.
So, but there's a clip that I love, and I haven't really played it since all the Biden stuff came out, but it's more under the heading. It's not gaffes and stutters, and he's not disoriented, but clearly he's saying something that he does not know what it means or what motivated it. Somebody told him, talk about this.
Oh, Lord.
And because it makes no sense to anyone. I've ran it by hundreds of people. No one knows what he's talking about. And what it declares to me is he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's more the handlers just tell him what to say. And so people are saying, who was running the White House? Who's the guy with the auto pen and blah, blah, blah. Well, this clip, when you see it through the lens of what you know today, will be Biden speaking about something that makes no sense and he doesn't know what he's saying. But he doesn't. What I'm saying is when people are alert and they start saying something that doesn't make sense, they end up catching themselves and sort of explaining. Typically, most people that sort of go, they'll do a thing where they'll go like, they'll go like, my mom is older than my dad. Oh, right. My dad's older than my mom. Sorry. They'll do that kind of thing.
He did that. He couldn't catch himself in those mistakes in the interview with the FBI. Right? Like the special prosecutor.
No, that was
couldn't
awesome.
Remember the year his son died?
Yeah. Although I got to tell you, I don't have a lot of sympathy for Joe because I think he's a race hustler and a liar. And it's been
his MO for a really long time. Yeah.
But I am with him on the dates. I am. People go, when did you guys start the Man Show? I'm like, maybe 96, 98? No, 90, probably like early 90, late 90s, and they'll go, when did you start Loveline? I go, 97.
Let me call Dr.
96,
Drew. Let's see.
94?
Let's see.
Yeah, I don't know. But
So I
don't pay attention.
And I get it. Like Ben Shapiro said the same thing. My husband is not the person that books flights for the family. We're planning summer vacations now. It's almost officially summer. And like, I'm the mom. I do that. I have all those dates in my head, social security numbers, yada, yada. I get that. But I am just saying, I can tell you how old I was when my grandfather died. Like when I lost my first grandparent. Heaven forbid, knock on wood, it never happens, I were to lose a more immediate family member, I think I'd remember the year in which they died.
Yeah.
Right? And so,
no,
and also because he made it a campaign talking point for so long.
No, listen. Again, I'm not defending him. He was addled. He's an addled old man. Dates or not. All right. But this is the one. This is my favorite because it makes no sense. And he doesn't know it makes no sense. And somebody told him to say it.
The Department of Transportation is working on rules that would require airlines and travel sites to disclose fees up front. Fees like things, if you want to sit next to your young child, well, guess what? Or check your baggage, or change your ticket. You're going to be surprised. They're going to charge you for that without telling you. Your ticket's going to cost a heck of a lot more. And that's not a Federal Communications Commission. They're working on a rule that would make the same thing for fees that internet companies charge.
All right, you can pause it. This is not the clip we have in the computer that I've run 27 times, but it's another clip, but that's okay. We'll keep playing it.
It's not in the computer.
Oh, it isn't?
We are having to relocate it.
Wow.
I know.
Must be somewhere weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we talk about how awkward those people that look behind him?
Everyone behind Joe just I would be more comfortable wearing a Klan hood than I would with whatever was on my face when he was talking. All right, that's just me. Here we go.
The Department of Transportation is working on rules that would require airlines and travel sites to disclose fees up front. Fees like things, if you want to sit next to your young child.
All right, it must be further into this thing because I don't know. It's stuff I played that I thought was on the computer like 70 times, so I don't know where it is. But you can go ahead, just keep playing it.
And that's not a Federal Communications Commission. They're working on a rule that would make the same thing for fees that internet companies charge, requiring them to show those costs up front. I'm not saying they can't charge it, but you got to let you know they're going to charge it. You can make a decision. Some airlines, if you want 6 more inches between you and the seat in front, you pay more money. But you don't know it until you purchase your ticket.
All right, now pause. I sit in this next room and I make travel plans all the time.
Uh-huh.
And I just sit with my assistant and I go, what's first class to Salt Lake City? And she goes, how this much? And I go, okay. What's coach? She goes, that much. And I go, what about, they have Coach Plus? Yeah. How much is it? $87 more. What do you get? You get priority baggage. You get the space above your head. You get 6-inch knee.
Yeah.
It's like that extra $87. Yeah. How long's the flight? And she's just sitting on her computer. I have no idea. What? Do you know what he's saying?
No, did he say like you can buy the seats in front of you, or that you don't know if the seat's in front of like he's saying
I'll run it go back 10
yeah,
seconds and you'll tell me if this makes any sense to anyone living in modern America.
But you don't know it until
wait, go back another 10. Sorry, go ahead.
You put more inches between you and the seat in front, you pay more money.
Go back a little more. Just a little. All right, here we go.
We're not saying they can't charge it, but you got to let you know they're going to charge it. You can make a decision. Some airlines, if you want 6 more inches between you and the seat in front, you pay more money. But you don't know it until you purchase your ticket. Look, folks, these are junk fees. They're unfair, and they hit marginalized Americans the hardest, especially low-income folks and people of color.
And people of color.
Oh, there it
different
is.
than low income.
There it is.
That's the race hustle that we miss so much. But it's not just, this doesn't affect poor people. It affects poor people and black people who may be wealthy. Like this would affect Julius Erving, and this would affect Jay-Z and Beyonce, because while they're not poor.
And they're on their private jet.
They are black. And this would fight, because when you're working the computer for United Airlines, you would have to ask if this was a black person that was trying to book these tickets.
I also, it makes no sense at all. Like, you can see what seats are taken. You can see the price of the seat. Even, am I allowed to say what I think the worst airline in the world is? Or is that not something that I can say?
Go ahead.
Avelo.
They're a sponsor.
Well, they're giving
this
me
segment
really
brought to you by Velo Airlines.
They're giving me real cheap flights to Bend this summer with my family, but you literally you can only have a backpack that's actually smaller than the average backpack, or they will charge you like $80 to carry on a backpack. But it is very clear in every step of the booking process, we're going to charge you for that. You need to take a shit. We're going to charge you for that.
Okay, I'm circling back, but I do feel like I need to defend a Velo Airlines. In that, and I want to say this to everybody.
Yep.
You brought up Home Depot earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I've said this before, but it bears repeating. You can go into Home Depot and you can get a sheet of 1/2-inch CDX, good one side, 4x8 ply for $26.
Yep.
Or you can go up the street to the Anawalt Lumber and you can pay $39, right? Mm-hmm. And you go So then sometimes people go into the Anawalt lumber and they'll go, what? $39? I can get it for $26 over at home. Right. But at Anawalt, the guy who works there is going to tell you should go with OSB instead of the CDX ply. It's going to be better if you're doing shear wall because he's a carpenter. Like he knows what he's doing.
He knows all the details, yeah.
And they're going to put it on the forklift. They're going to bring it over to your car and they're going to help you load it. So you have a choice.
Yep.
If it's nothing but savings, then go to the Home Depot, get a cart, schlep it over and do it. And I do that, and that's fine. It's cheaper. But do not complain when the more boutique place that has better service and more experience charges you for that.
Oh, I'm typically I like corporations that innovate and make money and give people jobs. So I'm totally fine with it. But
and my thing is like, I fly Southwest all the time. You know what you're getting.
Yep.
It's $89 to Phoenix. Suck it up.
But now they're doing they have like designated seating now.
I like it, but I'm saying Jet Suite X is on the table. It's just $489 instead of $89, and I get to make that decision. But what I don't get to do is go on the Southwest flight and start complaining that there's not enough knee room because I'm choosing Southwest.
He's insane. Like
run it back one more time. But I'm saying now you see it through the lens of Joe Biden not knowing what he's saying and somebody loading up a prompter. Now, the question is who could possibly put this into a prompter?
Or is he
freeballing it now?
I think he's freeballing.
He's ad-libbing.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Cost up front. I'm not saying they can't charge it, but you got to let you know they're going to charge it. You can make a decision. Some airlines, if you want 6 more inches between you and the seat in front, you pay more money.
Hold on, pause it. I got another carpentry thing.
I love the carpentry analogy.
I have two problems. I promise the people that point the wrong direction. This has been discussed. I'm out in Malibu now. No, you're pointing towards Simi Valley. Don't do it. You're pointing the wrong direction. You're pointing toward Vegas.
You and my husband would get along really well.
And I don't like it. And I also don't like Biden's up there. He's like, you want an extra 6 inches of leg room? That's 19 inches. That's not. You're holding your hands too far apart for 6 inches. By the way, look down. I'll show you what 6 inches. This is 6 inches. Not this. Your hands are too wide. Okay, I'm nitpicking, but here we go.
Until you purchase your ticket. Look, folks, these are junk fees. They're unfair and they hit marginalized Americans the hardest, especially low-income folks and people of color.
All right, so let's stop it. It's marginalized. So let's just break this down.
It's marginalized and people of color.
Well, no, it's low income as well.
Oh, it's 3 different groups.
So you could be low income, and this would hit you hard because obviously more money for you and your limited income is a big deal. But what if you were marginalized?
Oh.
Like you were gay?
I guess. Do pregnant people count as marginalized
Not to
groups?
them. No. No, pregnant dudes.
Pregnant people, but not pregnant women.
Right. Marginalized would be gay, trans, and something.
Okay.
And then there would be the people of color, which is a third group. And people think I'm talking about nothing. This is what this guy does all day is divide everybody.
Yeah.
He just said this costs more to do this thing. He doesn't need to go hits these people harder.
All of these.
Parking tickets hit poor people harder than rich people.
Yes, but also your license plate in the state of California costs you more as a rich person because you're more likely to have a fancy car.
Yeah.
Like there is a balance. The lottery is a tax that hits poor people harder, but he's not anti that last I checked.
No, well.
I just can't believe I actually feel like we don't have to, but if I watch this video like a couple more times, I can tell you exactly where he goes off prompter and where he goes back on prompter.
I was just going to say that last sentence is 100% on prompter.
You can tell that was the staff written one and him pretending like he's ever flown commercial for the last 20 years and being like, the 6 inches, that's him going off prompter.
Also in the pantheon of a wide open border, a failing school system and horrible infrastructure, where does commercial flight in knee space and $49 extra for folks that are flying commercially, how does that impact? First off, the poorest Americans don't fly. They
True.
just don't fly.
Yeah.
They're poor. They don't fly.
There's a lot of Americans that don't go on business trips.
There's
or
many Americans that don't fly. No, it's really the people that do all the flying. It's like the same 24 people flying constantly.
Then how come they don't do a better job putting their shit through the TSA line when I'm there?
You know what? You make a fine point. So it's marginalized, it's low income, and it's people of color.
Okay.
Who need to be separated from marginalized and low income. You could be a rich person of color, but this would affect you.
Oh, 'tis true.
But it doesn't really explain how it would impact someone who was of color and rich.
Can we find out who had the auto pen and who wrote these horrible speeches?
I want to hear it one more time, and I just want you to tell me when he gets off or goes back to the...
Okay.
I don't mean the whole thing doesn't, but sorry. Yes, when he goes back to the prompter.
Charge, requiring them to show those costs up front. I'm not saying they can't charge it, but you got to let you know they're going to charge it.
Oh, he's
you
off
can make
it
a
there.
decision.
Yeah.
Some airlines, if you want 6 more inches between you and the seat in front, you pay more money. But you don't know it until you purchase
There
your
he goes,
ticket.
back to prompter.
Look, folks, these are junk fees. They're unfair, and they hit marginalized Americans the hardest, especially low-income folks and people of color.
All right.
Yep.
So it's interesting. He didn't need the prompter to do the race baiting. That he just ends everything with marginalized people of color, marginalized people of color.
But I think that part was like on prompter. I think
Yeah, he was
says
definitely on prompter
he
there.
does the filler joke.
That sentence is way too well constructed.
Exactly.
Well, the reason, hold on a second. I will say that, but I'll give the devil his due. He has said that so many times. Like he works,
That's
he
how he
wakes up in the
pivots.
morning and goes marginalized and people of color. No, I was only doing it because normally they have those prompter windows on the right, and then they switch to the left, and he went down the middle. That's why I didn't do it. But who the point is, we have no idea what he's saying to this day. Also,
But did he have prostate cancer there?
even if I knew what he was saying, it would not impact anybody in America. It is not in anyone's top 700 items.
True.
Right? Okay. Knee room. Also, everybody is down with the concept of would you like to sit in an exit or emergency row or something and get a little extra bulkhead and get some extra knee room?
Yeah.
That's all anyone does all day when they book flights.
And if the plane goes down, are you willing to accept? They give you that.
Yes.
Please look me in the eyes and say, yes, you can.
Yes.
By the way, they don't let pregnant people sit in the exit row. So that's another marginalized group. Yay!
Oh.
Pregnant people can be marginalized now.
Who is marginalized? Gay, lesbian,
Probably
trans?
Satanists, but not Christians or Jews.
You know, it must be rough being Asian about now because you don't get any group anymore.
I mean, they were kept out of Harvard for a really long time.
That's what I'm saying. They're not marginalized, even though they are marginalized. They're not black or brown community.
They don't qualify to the left as a
They don't really
marginalized group.
qualify for anything. So I'm just gonna carve out Asian
Okay.
right now. I'm gonna put marginalized more about your sexuality and lifestyle.
That makes sense.
And I'm gonna put low income. I'm just gonna put the Carollas in there. I'm just gonna say put my family in there. And then people of color is mostly black, but could be Hispanic, but not Asian.
And definitely not if you voted for Trump. If you're in the
that's
people of
right.
color group
Yes,
and you
you're right.
voted for Trump, then you're totally out.
That is correct.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I would, if I was trying to help out the folks on the left in the dude department, I've been obsessed with the way progressive guys cross their legs. They cross their legs like women. And if you watch Trudeau and if you watch Obama did
Macron.
it, if you watch them
Yep.
all, they all do the signal. It's like I'm presenting to you who I am. Now, my favorite picture is Trump because Trump holds his knees 22 inches apart and then creates a diamond with his hands, his thumb and his forefinger, and then holds it in front of his crotch to accentuate his nutsack.
I've literally never noticed that before. This is like a key difference between men and women right here, by the way. Speaking
Right.
of
So what Trudeau does, for first things first, I am telling you, I have, and I'm not bragging, but a fairly prodigious nutsack. I cannot sit for longer than 10 seconds with my legs crossed as hard as Trudeau crosses his without cutting the blood off. My nuts will fall asleep.
This is why you book first class, sir.
This is why I need a bulkhead. I literally, when I make fun of guys who sit that way, I'll throw my leg over. I last for 4 seconds. It's too painful. I have to throw my leg back over the other side. Trudeau does it, and when he does it, he exposes his colorful socks, which is him presenting to a crowd who he is and how he votes. So, and if you watch, and if you see Trudeau do it, he's a hard cross. Now, the harder you are to the left, the harder you cross.
The more dramatic you are about the crossing of the leg?
You cross harder. There's a little room, a little wiggle room. No, I sit, when I cross my legs, I put my ankle on top of my kneecap and swing it wide open.
That's not crossing your leg. That's a hip flexor.
That's a hip flex. I would never dream of trying to fold a leg over.
Yeah.
It's signaling to the world I have no balls. I have ballless.
It does seem, you know how they say like sometimes when like the first date advice is like, oh, if somebody's talking to you and they mimic your mannerisms, then that means that they like you. I feel like this is like them as men almost taking the little dog approach.
Yes.
Even if it's just like, even if they don't recognize it, they are taking you are the dominant. Like in that photo, Trump looks like the dominant person in the photo.
Yes. Well, he's the alpha. He's a dude.
Exactly.
Trudeau has no nutsack, and he's down with the LGBT. He's down with the trans community. I don't have nutsack either.
He's like a Ken doll.
Right. That's what he's saying.
But Obama was the very first, I think, world leader to rock the girl, cross.
The leg cross. Yeah. And Obama, which we're looking at now, he actually has his cross-leg knee further past his, he's way crossed up, right? And then I started thinking about, so what they're doing, what they don't know they're doing is they're sort of signaling. They're going, I know. You cross your legs, I know how you vote. I know where you're down. I know what you think about almost every subject.
I'm going to tell this to all of my single girlfriends. Be like,
Watch
aware.
out for the leg crossers.
Well, it's not even just how they vote. It is that submissive thing.
Yes.
And you want a relationship where there's equality, but you don't want a relationship as a woman where you have to make all the decisions and wear the pants and make the run to Home Depot. That's the dude's job.
It is. Then I see James Comey on Colbert. And Comey's got the chick leg cross too.
Did he always have that, or did he just start?
I've been around long enough to remember. Now, I will say this. I'm going to be upfront. There are a handful of organic leg crossing dudes. Organic.
Okay.
A handful.
Okay.
It's a small percentage. I'm not proud to say it, but Dr. Drew is a chick leg crosser. And he was back in 96.
Yep.
And I remember going, what's going on with your legs? Crossing my legs. Like a chick? Like I made a big deal out of it because I never saw it. No one would ever go on Johnny Carson and do that kind of leg cross as a dude.
Oh, no.
Milton Berle couldn't have pulled that off. My point is it's now a thing, just like a bunch of rope bracelets, just like Bruce Springsteen with his one earring. Now, women can wear bracelets. It's men that
my beaded mom bracelet with my rope bracelet.
You're a woman. Okay. You're a woman. Women wear bracelets. Men do not wear bracelets.
What about necklaces for men?
None of it. There's no room for any jewelry.
Even if it's like a rosary or like a saint or a name or something?
I'm going to carve out one exception.
Okay. Jeff
Probst from Survivor.
Yes.
That guy pulls off a choker. That guy can pull a choker off like nobody. Nobody.
Is he also allowed to cross his legs? Is he in
I'm convinced that guy does not age because of the choker. The blood never gets out of his head. You know what I mean? It never gets out of his head. Bruce has got a bunch of bracelets now. Bruce, the boss, yeah. He's got all his rope bracelets. And by the way, they make sure and present. They roll their sleeve back and they go, hey, see all my bracelets? Watch me cross my legs and then view all of my bracelets. I'm going to take a picture where I roll my sleeve down. I'm presenting. This is how I do it. I'm submissive. This is how. Now you know where I'm at. Okay? Okay. So that's where we're at. Comey, they all do it now.
It's so interesting.
There's no way men's hips or nutsacks evolved in the last 20 years physiologically. It's a mental thing. It's an emotional, mental thing. And so you are going to go on Colbert. You may not even talk about politics, but let's let Colbert and the audience know where I come down.
Where I'm coming from.
Where I'm coming from. Let me roll my sleeve up.
Yep.
Flash some cloth bracelets, and then take my one knee and mash it over my other knee in this super uncomfortable position. That position was only invented because chicks wore mini skirts on talk shows and couldn't show off the hoo-ha. Because they're up on a riser.
You're supposed to do what I'm trying to do now is like the little princess thing, like the Princess Kate. It was like the royal. It's like you put the knees together and then you slightly tilt your legs to the side and then it's like foot over ankle. That is what you're supposed to do. Because even cross leg.
Yeah,
I
you're
mean,
right.
Maybe if you're a Kar Jenner, but if you're any other woman in the world, you get a little cellulite on that and a little bit too much leg when you do the cross.
What you're talking about with the knees together, the foot over the other foot,
it's
and
like
the slight pitch.
It's
your new side saddle. Ladies used to ride side saddle because they were ladies.
It's the modern side saddle.
The modern side saddle.
There you go. But I think it's called the Princess Kate.
Well, Trump goes Western.
Oh.
He goes Western with a big saddle.
Now that you said the thing about the diamond shape around his crotch, I can't unhear it. And I'm just going to see it every single time I see a photo of him.
Well, when he sits down with Trudeau, he's like, I don't want to be mistaken for this Quimby. So I'm just going to spread my knees out, make a diamond with my hands, and draw focus to my nutsack.
Oh, Lord.
American Giant. Everything's more expensive these days because of the tariffs, and everything's made somewhere else and then sits on a container ship, and then we pay more. The world of fast fashion has complicated clothing production by shipping cheap parts around the world to whoever can sew them the cheapest, and you're paying the price with rising costs. American Giant is about keeping things simple and close to home. They aren't affected by tariffs because their products never left the U.S. That's right. Here in the U.S. of A. Buying from American Giant supports American manufacturers. Mega corporations obsessed with growth are churning out cheap stuff from poor materials. Working people are left behind. Communities are hollowed out, and junkyards are piling up. So let's support our own here. Like many of us, the founders of American Giant were dissatisfied with how clothes are made. So they created their own opportunity to make things better. Am I right, Dawson?
This season, snag the hoodie that will bring you comfort for life, the American Giant Classic Full Zip. And save 20% on your first order at american-giant.com. When you use code ADAM at checkout, that's 20% off your first order at american-giant.com, code ADAM.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Well, you know the jingle. Oh, O'Reilly Auto Parts. Wow! O'Reilly Auto Parts. Well, they offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for your maintenance and repairs. Always use O'Reilly. I think I'm wearing their hat right now. I used to go the one out in North Hollywood back in the day, and then I moved, and then I used the one up on Foothill. Still do. I used to have to go there to keep my cars running. Now I do it as a hobby because I just like it. So whether you're a car aficionado or an auto novice, you're going to find the employees at O'Reilly Auto Parts are knowledgeable, helpful, and best of all, friendly. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us online. Go to O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam. All right. Let's see. Do you have news?
I do have some news.
Well, we'll do some of that.
All right. So, speaking of the man-woman nutsack, this is applicable. I've been paying attention to this story on Instagram for a while. Alliance Defending Freedom is representing a Christian camp in Colorado. Mm-hmm. Idra Haji is the name of the camp. It stands for I'd Rather Have Jesus. And it's a Christian camp there.
Acronym.
The ages are between 6 and 17. Mm-hmm. And it served Colorado families of faith. And they say that they actually accept people of all backgrounds, but they have to be okay with them identifying like girls as girls and boys as boys because they have separate sleeping, right?
Yes.
And the camp filed a complaint in federal court back a couple weeks ago challenging new state licensing rules issued by the Colorado Department of Early Childhood that allegedly required children's resident camps to permit campers access to bathing, dressing, and sleeping facilities that align with the camper's gender identity. So the camp essentially is getting shut down by the state because they don't pay attention to the First Amendment.
What the fuck happened to Colorado? Colorado used to be a normal place, like home of Coors and John Denver. You know what I mean? And then they fucking broke hard. Something happened.
Was it the legalization of pot?
I don't know, but it's why you have an out of control homeless problem and a crime problem and why you're ruining your city. Something happened. Like you could chart Minneapolis, Minnesota, and like Denver, Colorado. When I was a kid, it was just fucking Paul Bunyan and horseback riding and the Flatiron Mountain Range and the Rockies and dudes and camping and hunting. And Minnesota was Bud Grant and Minnesota Vikings and stuff. And you guys went off the fucking rails in the last like 20 years and you've completely ruined your brand.
It's such a beautiful place too, and I feel like there's lots of normal people. This is crazy though, because under the new state policy, according to this article, the camp must choose between upholding its religious beliefs and mission or abandoning those in order to keep its license. So they could completely use their license. It gets even better. They're going to send in a regulator.
It's the other. Well, first off, it's more academia. It's like, well, you got to send in somebody to go in and verify. Like you don't. You can leave people. You can leave people alone.
Yep.
There could be a Boy Scouts and there can be a Girl Scouts, and then boys could join the Boy Scouts and girls could join the Girl Scouts, and then we'll be done. We do not need to tear everything down.
Well, apparently, I mean. Honestly, and I think the ADF is arguing that like this is just in complete violation of their First Amendment rights because they're going to have a licensed specialist that would visit the camps to make sure that they're in compliance with letting boys sleep with girls and girls sleep with boys.
Colorado's a place where they had the Masterpiece cake baker guy, and they went in and wanted the gay cake, and then they wanted the trans cake, and then it had to go to the Supreme Court, and you had to destroy a small business because a bunch of nut jobs went in there and filed lawsuits against it. And you guys were all down with it, and it went all the way to Supreme Court. You guys, I don't know what happened with Colorado, but you fuckers lost it. You've lost it. I don't know why you'd want to go down this road. All it does is ruin cities and ruin states.
Or shut down a camp that's existed for 70 years and like serviced thousands of children. Like, and they also, the camp was very clear. They were like, you do not have to identify as like Judeo-Christian person to send your child to camp here. You just have to say, like, we will separate boys and girls. I don't see how this is a problem.
Getting back to our initial conversation, when you talk to dudes, they want to go to the garage and wrench on their projects or go hunting or they want to do stuff. You know what I mean? And you go, how about you spend all your time trying to ruin some Christian camp? And they go, I don't care.
Not a priority.
I want to go work on stuff.
But if you tell the cross-legging, the leg crossing,
they don't have hobbies. Their hobby is getting involved with your shit.
Yep.
Their hobby is ruining your stuff.
Yep.
They don't have their own stuff. That's what I'm saying.
No, it's true.
Most guys, any guy I know who's a wrencher or builder or whatever, all they want to do is be left alone to work on their stuff. They have no interest what you do in your camp. That's your business. It's your camp. Their business is getting involved with other people's business. Yeah. That's their hobby.
Yeah, they have to get in the way of it all.
Right.
Of the parents, of the religion.
Yes, they can't have it.
Of the individual.
Yes.
You must listen to the state.
Yes.
So this one's kind of interesting. Are you an Epstein didn't kill himself person?
I tend not to believe a lot of the stuff I've been hearing lately because it's all turned out to be a lie.
Okay.
But I do look at Kash, Patel and Bongino as pretty straight shooters.
Yeah.
So I feel like if they came down on the side of suicide, I would tend to listen to them more than I would listen to, let's say, Jake Tapper.
Well, we can take a listen. So
Okay.
they actually came down on the side of suicide.
Yeah,
and
I heard that.
we have a clip right here.
Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
So
I would tend to believe Bongino. I do not know Kash Patel that well, but I would tend to believe him. On the other hand, the fact that nothing ever comes out about anything to do with Epstein is a little curious.
Well, I get why conspiracy theories develop, because it's like the lack of transparency.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Well, what I'm saying is this is one of the biggest. I mean, look, we're now getting everything that P. Diddy did and every celebrity that showed up, and we're getting all the testimonials,
all the victim statements, all the stuff.
It's just you could fill case files.
You know that
with
there's
what's going
people
on.
that think that Diddy and Epstein were connected too. That's another conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I'm saying if you are a male porn star that goes by the handle of the Punisher or something, you may get called into court, exposed, testimony, what have you. But Bill Clinton is different than that guy. Mm-hmm. There's an apparatus that's there to protect, like the Clintons, let's say. So he was not involved with P. Diddy per se, but he may have been involved with Epstein, and Epstein is where the apparatus is. We don't have that apparatus protecting us.
And so now there's people like on the right, the far right, and part of the MAGA movement that are mad at Bongino and Kash Patel for saying this, and they're saying that the apparatus got to them.
Well,
do you think the apparatus got to them, or do you think?
Listen,
I mean, honestly, I didn't. But then seeing that clip of Bongino again, he does kind of look like a little deer in the headlights.
I will say this. I will say that I think of myself as a fairly upright guy. I'm not a liar and a blah, blah, blah. But I can tell you sort of morally, when you go, well, listen, I like this country and I'm a blue collar guy and I think we should bring manufacturing back to this country and I'm all for that. And then someone goes, all right, well, you're doing merch, right? And I go, yeah, well, if we do your T-shirt in Indiana, it's going to be $31 a unit. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. We do China, it's $4 a unit.
Yeah, if not cheaper.
All of a sudden, I'm not quite as patriotic as I was 5 minutes earlier. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, So I do get that when people say to somebody, listen, you say this and it's going to cause a shitstorm the likes of which you've never seen. Yeah. And there's some guys you like that may get caught up in this, and it may also, it's a kind of a look, you have an agenda, you're doing great things, you really want to upset that and stop doing all the great things you're doing, and blah, blah, blah.
So you're on the side of like the apparatus got to them?
People make business decisions. You see it all the time.
Yep.
And it doesn't really make you immoral. It necessarily. It is a business decision. Everybody who manufactures something in China started off by wanting to manufacture something in the United States then found out how much it cost.
How expensive it was.
And then all of a sudden they start making deals. They go, well, I have employees and I got to pay them. And, if I'm charged $31 a unit, I'm not going to have as much to pay them. And you start making concessions.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm open to that. I don't even really hold it against the person because 9.5 out of 10 people would do what they do. If
they were in that same position. I think that's where you get like the keyboard warriors that are like conspiratorial online.
Yeah.
Hello in the comments. That if they were in the same position, they would probably do the same thing Kash and Bongino are doing.
Well,
right?
I'm saying, I would say, look, I'm going into this position, full transparency. I'm only going to tell the truth and let the chips fall where they may. But at some point, Trump might pull you aside and go, look, on this issue.
With the diamond.
With the diamond in front of his nutsack. Sit down.
I'm never forgetting that now.
Let me just dust off my diamond.
Every time.
Here we go.
Every
Focus
time.
on the diamond. Yeah. Everyone is, look.
So you say that you're an honest person. Have you ever pretended to work when you weren't working?
Oh, that's the next story. Well, I have a problem, which was my work was, if you work construction, which is what I did.
Pretty obvious if you're not working.
There is no not working
Yeah.
because you're standing there
Yeah.
and then you get yelled at. You just get yelled at. You need to be moving. If you just stop and you're just standing in the site, someone will yell at you. Get going.
Be like, that drywall was supposed to be up.
There's no, you can't stand in the middle of a construction site not doing anything and go, I am working. You can't do it. And so the problem with, first things, everyone with their goddamn phone, it's down 20% just with the phone.
Okay, but also I think so. There's this new ghost working trend. This is from the New York Post, and it's a lot of employees that they're actually saying that they're burned out, and the reason why they pretend to work at work is because they feel like a boss is either on one extreme micromanaging them, or on the other extreme doesn't give them enough direction. But you're right; it's not a job that is like a craft, like carpentry or dentistry or something very specific. It's an office job, sometimes in remote places.
I'm trying to think how much lateral fake work movement I've ever had, which is to say, first work the grill at McDonald's. Next, me and Kamala would work the grill in
Gotta make sure
Studio
those-
City
yeah.
McDonald's. There's zero fakeage there. You're
Yep.
standing there. They start yelling at you if you weren't putting up
Honking
Big
the
Macs.
horns of the drive-through line.
Yeah, we didn't have a drive-through actually.
Really?
Yeah,
Where was that location?
it was the one in Studio. Oh, I don't know. Talk to my press secretary. It's the one in Studio City that is now gone.
Yeah,
But
because I don't think I've ever seen one.
It was
over
right
there.
off of Ventura Boulevard.
Oh, wow.
Between Coldwater and Laurel Canyon. Oh, sorry, between Colfax and Laurel Canyon. And it was up in Studio City.
That was probably hopping.
It was the kind of one of the earlier. There wasn't a lot. There was one further down, more like Sherman Oaks, Encino area. But this was there. It was a new mall. Now I think there's like a Trader Joe's there and a something. But
It's where the Sephora and the Trader Joe's and the Mendocino Farms and stuff are.
I wouldn't know where the Sephora was, sweetheart. But yes.
Well, because I'm a person who crosses my legs, I do.
Yes.
Okay.
So
you're saying you're honest, and every job you've had is very like hands-on.
I had that job, and then I had liquor store delivery guy, but that was another thing where you couldn't fake it because they'd give you the couple cases of booze, and you have to take it somewhere, and it's like they would call if
They're
you
like,
weren't.
where's my
is
beer?
he?
Yeah.
Right. So I did that. Then I did carpet cleaning. Now, carpet cleaning, you could not work because we would do restaurants, and we would have to do restaurants in the middle of the night. So
they wouldn't know. I mean, I feel like you would notice.
There's a built-in problem with carpet cleaning, like
You
a
see
fundamental
the
problem.
before and after,
Yeah, like that.
and the smell probably.
Yeah, you'd go into the Hamburger Hamlet in Westwood and you'd clean the carpet, or the Country Kitchen, or wherever. We do Tony Roma's. We do really greasy, crappy food places. So you can tell the difference between clean carpet and horrible, dirty carpet, which would be coming out of the kitchen all greasy. It was a mess. But I got dropped off in the middle of the night because it would close, and I'd be there all night. But I could sit in a booth and do nothing for an hour, but the carpet wasn't going to get cleaned.
Or you could do the job and then like take a nap after.
Yeah, I mean,
like you could try to
the problem
speed up
is,
the process.
it's but if you work nonstop, you'd already get out of there 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Or you could sit down for a half hour and get out at 3.
Yeah.
But you didn't really want to hang out because you wanted to go home because it was like the middle of the night.
It's a better place to sleep at home.
Yeah, so I was motivated. Plus, I couldn't tell Art Fuss, my manager.
Is that a comedy name, or was that really his name?
Art Fuss.
That sounds like a
Carpets.
sitcom character name.
He's the greatest. And if he dropped you off to clean the Pizza Hut in Pasadena, and you told him it took 5 hours, he'd go, "That's an hour and a half." because he knew what size the Pizza Hut was.
I appreciate bosses like that actually know how long a job will take because they worked their way up, right? Like
in the carpet cleaning world, it's pretty straightforward. If you got a huge place, I once cleaned Edwards Air Force Base.
Whoa.
That is like terminals, acreage.
Whoa.
Of just acres of carpet as far as you could see.
Yeah.
That was like a 12-hour day because Art knew that was Edwards Air Force Base. But if they dropped you off at the Colony Kitchen, he knew how big it was.
90 minutes.
Yeah, 2 hours maybe, but you weren't going to milk it past 2 hours.
So we've made it very clear that like your listeners that are doing real work, not office work.
In construction, then it was construction, and when you're digging ditches, you're either digging ditches or you're not digging ditches. The foreman's just standing there. If you're just standing there, he's going to start yelling at you.
Yeah.
And then he would fire you. And then later on, I became a boxing coach, but that was the same thing. It was like an hour-long class. Couldn't really fake teaching an hour-long boxing class.
Yeah.
And then
somebody might punch you in the face if they didn't feel like they were getting their money's worth.
And then radio, but radio you had to be there and you had to talk and stuff. And then TV. About the closest I could get on TV is we had an office. Me and Jimmy shared a big office, and I love napping. I loved
good
to
power nap.
I love nap. Yeah, but it was totally frowned on back then. But see, I worked nights.
Yeah.
And then I'd come home at 12:30 at night, and I'd go to bed at 1:30, maybe 2, and I'd get up and come into the Man Show. And at like 3 in the afternoon, I was like,
yeah,
I want to take a nap.
That post-lunch slump, too.
Post-lunch slump. And back then, now you're virtuous. Like, oh, the science says. Not back then. You were just lazy and a pussy. And I would like slink out. Like I'd go, like, I'm going to go check out the stage or something. But I would go into my dressing room and I would take a 20-minute nap.
Did you ever get caught?
Oh, yeah. They'd come looking for me.
That's so funny.
Oh, I used to sneak into my producers, had a couple of lady producers that had a sofa, and I'd sneak into their office.
Yeah.
Just let me lay down for a second. But they'd come looking for me.
I do have to admit, I have not done what 23% of people say that they did. They walked around the office with a notebook.
To look busy?
To look like they're headed somewhere, right? 22% said that they would randomly type gibberish on their keyboards.
I have found, well, I appreciate that. Because I had basically 2 modes. I had working.
Yeah.
Which is all construction is just work. And occasionally you had to look like you're working if somebody turned the corner and you weren't working. You had to get kind of busy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I've realized the new generation doesn't care what you think if they're working or not.
Maybe.
And maybe it's a California thing, but I remember so vividly, I was leaving here on a Thursday at like 11 in the morning, and I had one of my guys. I literally had my bags and was heading to the airport to work over the weekend. And I had Mike August out there in the Uber, and he had his bag. And I was like walking out of this building, and I looked at one of my guys who was sitting in this office with his chair, and I just go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Playing video games." And I go, I am walking out of the building, never to be seen again. I'm getting on a flight, going to pay a little extra for knee rooms. I didn't know it. I didn't know it until I got back.
Didn't know it.
Thank God I'm not a person of color. But I was like, I'm walking out the door. All you had to do is pretend like you're doing something on your computer. Yeah. You don't have to tell me you're playing a video game.
But he was honest.
People do a lot of that. Yeah, the guy killed the co-eds, but he confessed. So good enough, right? Good dude. Yeah.
Have you ever walked around? I've done this before. I've pretended to be on the phone when I am getting like catcalled or something. I like
walking like by a construction site? You mean?
or Skid Row, either one. No, but I'm saying like, so apparently a whopping 50% of these people in the office have held their phones to their ears while like pretending to be on a phone call.
Look. There's a problem. There is a computer and there is a phone.
Yes.
And the phone can be used to do work, or the phone could be used
You
to
could be on
watch
TikTok or
pornography.
Ugh.
Okay, but it's right there, and it's the same device.
And they have like the privacy filters now too, like the privacy screens.
Right.
So like you really can't always see what the person is doing when you walk by.
So now the person's on their computer.
Mm-hmm.
Are they working? Well, don't know. Are they looking up? Are they on Zillow looking up houses? I don't know. They're on their computer. The computer is either a great instrument for work or a great instrument for leisure. I don't know which one it is. You could be checking your Roto League on it and or doing the work I want you to do. I don't know. The thing about the old days, when I worked on a construction site, you had a shovel. The shovel was not used for pleasure. It's not used for leisure. It was used.
Yep.
Or it wasn't. So if you set your shovel down and we're just standing, they'd go, hey, pick up the shovel. But I can't yell, hey, get on the computer, because you may be working. I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
And we don't know what you're doing, and nobody knows what you're doing. That's the problem. I see people staring at their phone all the time. I can't tell if they're working or not working.
They could be watching your show at work.
They could be watching me at work.
And then when their boss walks by, they're like in the comments section pretending to write a report.
Nobody really cares whether you catch them working or not anymore. I've realized.
Really?
That's my experience. I grew up being paranoid that you would be caught not working. I sat on scaffolding once with a guy doing construction who I liked. Once in a while, you'd get an English-speaking guy in there. It was rare, but like an English-speaking guy, and even more rare would be like a guy with a sense of humor, like you could actually talk to. And we sat on scaffolding. We sat on it because we're up at the top near a ceiling.
And definitely did not cross your legs.
No leg crossing on a job site. And we were doing repointing work, which is tucking grout in between bricks. Endlessly. It's endless. It's like picture a wall of brick that goes on for as far as you can see. And then you get this little tuck trowel and you just sit there and you just tuck, tuck. Sitting, he's tucking away, I'm tucking away. But we were talking and we were tucking.
Yeah.
And my foreman came by and yelled, hey, shut up. No talking. I was like...
Because men can't multitask. Your foreman knew this.
He saw the hawk, which is the thing with the mortar on it, and the tuck trowel, and we're working, but we're talking because we're sitting 5 feet from each other, and he's doing this section, and I'm doing this section. He said, no talking.
No, not allowed.
Not allowed.
And you're like, I'm going to show you. I'm going to have my own show one day.
One day. There's going to be something called the internet. And on it, you will find something called podcasters. And I should prove you wrong, sir.
You proved him wrong.
I did. All right. Well, that was fun, Elisha Krauss. Oh, let me give you a plug.
Oh, thanks.
You can check out Newsmakers, weekly op-ed, the Washington Examiner, YouTube, right? Where would you like? Should people just go to your website that want to
just
read
go to
you
my
and hear
website.
you?
Check me out on Instagram. I know you won't check me out on Instagram because you're not on Instagram.
I
but
work, baby.
Everybody else. Instagram is work. Instagram can be work too.
I shovel. You understand? And I use my tuck trowel, but I don't do the tuck move Justin Trudeau does. That's a different tuck move. Neal McDonough, great actor, is going to be on in his Angel Studios offering The Last Rodeo, which I've seen a lot of great clips for. Looks real good. We'll talk to him right after this. Simply safe. Well, it's important to feel safe when you're at home. And I mean, that's what people do. That's why they have smoke detectors and dogs and stuff like that. They like to feel safe. And traditional security systems, well, they take action after something has already happened, like after somebody broke in. Oh, now they take action, but somebody's standing in your living room. It's too late by then. Simply Safe is setting a new standard in home security. Simply Safe's Active Guard outdoor protection can help prevent break-ins before they happen. With AI-powered cameras backed by live professional monitoring agents, they monitor your property to detect suspicious activity before a window breaks. Monitoring plans start affordably around $1 a day. We've always used Simply Safe here. They've been a huge sponsor and a great supporter of the show since almost day one, and I'm a fan of their product. It is Simply Safe, right, Dawson?
You can get 50% off your new Simply Safe system with professional monitoring and your first month free at simplysafe.com/Adam. Just head to simplysafe.com/Adam to claim your discount and make sure your home is safe this year. Keep your home, your family, and your peace of mind protected with Simply Safe. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Bear. Oh, man. I love my Bear mattress. You know, I got displaced, and then I finally found a new place and set up my Bear mattress, and my sleep's never been better. Design with a focus on recovery, cooling, and pressure relief to upgrade your sleep and improve your overall quality of life. Well, now they're finding out. It's so important. Sleep is to your quality of life. Bear's Sleep Quiz matches you to the perfect mattress based on your body type and sleep preferences. Their award-winning mattresses are made in the U.S. with certified clean materials, and they include a limited lifetime warranty. Plus, Bear's sleep recovery technology helps you fall asleep faster, enjoy deeper sleep, and wake up rejuvenated. Still not convinced? Sleep on it for up to 120 nights and make sure you love your Bear mattress. If you're not getting the best sleep of your life, they'll pick it up and refund you, no hassles. Am I right, Dawson?
Go to bearmattress.com and use promo code Adam at checkout to get 40% off site-wide. This promo is not available anywhere else. You have to use our promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com. Use promo code Adam to get 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code Adam.
Neal McDonough is in studio. He's, I would say, a very recognizable actor.
Thank you, Adam.
Lots of movies, lots of TV, Minority Report, Walking Tall. I forgot about Walking Tall, the remake of Walking Tall, and Band of Brothers, and so many projects. The Last Rodeo's the name of the latest film. It is. It'll be in theaters. That'll be May 23rd. It's an Angel Studios production. I just did a couple of dry bars with those guys, so I get it. I love those guys.
They're just great. They know what they're doing. They know how to advertise their projects. They know the right things to put out there, and they have that guild that votes on everything. So it's once you pass that guild, you know the numbers are going to do well at the box office.
Yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking, I would say, and a little disconcerting even when you go, I just shot a stand-up special, and they go, we're going to push it through the guild. And I go, how's that work? Oh, we show it to all our people, and then they vote.
There's 1 million people in the guild now.
And I'm like, oh, so what if they don't like it?
And,
you know what I mean?
They're honest. They're
honest.
Yeah, which is great. Which I love.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting model. And I like it. And I like the fact that these guys were sort of outsiders, and they're Mormon, and they're Provo, and they were everything Hollywood hates.
Right.
Which is wholesome.
Right.
Nice, family-oriented people. Hollywood can't stand it. They're not gay. They're not trans. They're not anything. They're just good, solid citizens. And for some reason, Hollywood hates those people, but they've gone out and made a business out of it.
Well, if you go way back, they hated Mel Gibson when he, did The Passion of the Christ, and he made so much money on his terms.
Right.
So, and then, Hollywood doesn't like anyone to be too successful without Hollywood helping them be successful. There's something to that, for sure. I get it. However, what Angel Studios is doing is, we did our first movie, The Shift. This small little $5 million film did really well. Then we did Homestead together, another $5 million film, did $23 million in the box office. And now we're here doing an $8.5 million film that I wrote with my writing partner, Derek Presley, and John Avnet, the director, and produced it with my wife, Hervé. And here we are talking about this amazing film that we all put together and we're so stinking proud of.
Yeah, it looks really good. I saw the trailer moments ago, and it doesn't look like there's any budgetary issues on it. It looks real good.
Well, John Avnet's, after, Up Close and Personal, Fried Green Tomatoes, all the Justifieds, everything that he's done, 88 Minutes, which we worked on, he knows what he's doing. So he made it look like a $50 million film for an $8.5 million budget.
Yeah, and I'm really just happy it's sort of like that there's an alternative to people. Here's what I feel like. I feel like people had a monopoly. And in a way, it was that way with sort of mainstream media up until 10 minutes ago. They just sort of had a monopoly on things, and they could decide what politician was going to get elected or what the themes were, and whatever theme they were pushing. They were sort of in control of that, and Hollywood sort of had a monopoly, and newspapers had a monopoly. Like, everyone had a monopoly, and they controlled themes. And if you went against the theme or you bucked the system, then they'd push you out of the system. And people were scared to be pushed out of the system.
That's right.
Because there was nowhere else to go. It was basically a campsite with a fire and food, and you go, I disagree with what you guys are talking about around the campfire, but you could get wished out into the cornfield and freeze to death.
I got kicked out into that cornfield, and I froze to death for a couple of years because I didn't do it the way that Hollywood wanted me to do it.
Yeah, what was the story behind that?
It's everyone knows I won't do kissing scenes or sex scenes or anything like that. I'll kill a million guys on screen, which is fine. But everyone's like, if you kill so many people, I'm like, you're not actually killing somebody. But if I'm in bed kissing another woman, I just feel that's just kind of weird. And I didn't want to do it for this one show, and it was in my contract that that's just not what I'm going to do. And they pushed me, and then they fired me. And then everyone thought I was this crazy religious zealot because I wouldn't kiss another woman on screen. Well, that's not the point. I just didn't want to put my wife through it. My wife was cool with it, though. Reve was like, you're an actor. You have to do what you have to do. And I'm like, yeah, but I just don't want to put you through that. It just seems weird. So I became, after getting crushed, I came back with Justified. Thank you to John Avnet and Graham Yost for bringing me out of the ashes on that one. And then I just, for the last 10, 15 years, it's a string of fantastic villains. And my goal was I was going to be the best villain in Hollywood. And I think I pretty much got there. And now I have enough faith in the system that people are giving me money to now play the hero in a film. I mean, look, that poster, this is the first time I've starred in a film as the good guy who kisses the woman in the end. And that woman that I kissed in the end is none other than my actual wife, Reve. And when I told her that she was going to play my wife in the movie, she goes, I'm not an actress. I'm like, well, look, there's 3 flashback scenes to my wife who's passed away, and I have to kiss her passionately when she's dying. And the only person I can do that with is you, so you have to do it. And she agreed, and she was fantastic in it.
Graham Yost wrote Speed. I didn't know that.
He did.
Yeah. It's nice that there's a place where people can go outside of the mainstream, and in a way, podcasting is that way. But doing stand-up over Dry Bar versus Netflix and things like that. And it's nice that there's alternatives.
Yeah. And
there's an appetite for it. It wouldn't work if there wasn't an appetite for it.
And there is, obviously.
Yeah, and like I said, the Angel Studio guys are interesting because they started off as sort of marketing guys and Squatty Potty and things like that, and then just spun it off in a studio. And when you go there, it's impressive. Like, they have their own buildings, and
it's awesome.
And also, I don't know. See, I'm a non-religious person, but I can tell the difference between religious people and non-religious people, and those people are just nicer. They're just over there.
They're just kind human beings that want to kind of do the right thing, and I love being around the Harmon brothers. They're just really good guys who are big family guys who want to succeed in this business by doing the right things and making the right projects for people. And no one else is really doing that, and they did it, and they keep doing it. And I'm blessed beyond belief that Reve and I and the McDonough Company and Kip Conweiser, our partner, are so in deep with Angel Studios.
Have we passed the point now where you could be wished out into the cornfield and wither and die? Have we jumped that shark? Is there, it started, they would do it with comedians, but now people are just making their own specials, putting them on YouTube, hammering checks, getting a huge audience. There's countless stories of people that were almost blacklisted, essentially, who just broke out and went and did their own thing. Are we at a saturation point where they can't really do it to you anymore?
I mean, if you do something really stupid, you can, obviously. But I think there's also a shift in what people want to see. I think you look at the numbers that the films that Angel doing. Look, Angel just, this King of Kings just came out this last weekend, a $20 million opening weekend. That's phenomenal.
Right.
So I think the heartland of America is a group of people that were really overlooked in the decision making in Hollywood.
Yes.
So now that companies like Angel are going out there and the movies that, before we did films with Angel, our first movie we did a couple of years ago for $350,000. This hitman who finds his religious heart.
Right.
And has to off all the bad guys. So, and that film did really well. Then we did part 2 to that called Boone, which we raised $1.5 million to make that film. That film did really well. Then we kept building and building and building with the same kind of theme.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you have a really good story that has a faith backdrop to it. Not so much a faith-based film, but a real movie that has a little faith to it, that challenges the viewer as to, if you really are what you say you are you? And that's what I love to write to. And now that we're writing all these movies, and our next one is The Wicked and the Righteous, this big Western that's Cain and Abel in the West. And they have the same kind of themes, but the themes that I grew up with as a kid. I loved watching, my favorite film as a kid was The Cowboys with John Wayne. I've watched it over and over and over again. And those themes have always resonated with me. And it seems now it's been resonating a lot with the United States of America and their audience. And I just love tapping into it.
Well, it seems like we've lost our mooring a little bit, and we're drifting sort of as a society. We're just getting into stuff that seems ugly and sort of violent, and I don't know. It's just sort of the difference between you'll see films, you'll see stuff on the internet, and someone will go, Los Angeles, 1949, and it's someone just films Sunset Strip from, sunset all the way down to the ocean. And it's like clean and It's nice and people are well dressed and there's no graffiti and there's no homeless and there's no garbage. And then you sort of contrast it to where we're at today. And then people can go, well, we were this way in the 50s and we had other things going on in the 50s that we don't want. And I'm sort of saying, yeah, but let's just use my trip down Sunset Boulevard or Wilshire Boulevard, or what did downtown LA look like in 1955 and what's it look like in 2025?
Or even when I moved here in the early 90s even, it was just massively different.
You don't have to go that far. Right, you don't have to go that far. And then if you showed it to time-traveling historians, they'd go, well, whatever they're doing in 2025 doesn't seem like it's working. Like whatever this is, it's not good.
And you're right. And you're privy to it a lot more than I am, because you talk about it every day on your shows. You talk about society. You talk about where we're going as a country. You talk about the pimples and all, right? Me in my life, it's really all about Reve and our 5 kids and coaching the kids and bringing them to school and doing stuff, or being on set and working. And so I guess I don't see it as much, or I don't notice it as much, because I have a job to do, and my job is God's my boss, and I'm going to do everything I can to do the best that I can for my boss. And when I made that decision 10 years ago after I stopped drinking, it was a monumental shift in everything that I thought of. I was penniless. I had nothing. I had zero. And to come back now and to, just about to start our 11th production together with my wife, and to have Angel's support and have so much support out there. And now I'm part owner of the Austin Gamblers Team Rodeo. It's how I got to this point is pretty amazing, but I'm always trying to find the positivity in things. And I think that's the difference to how I was years ago as to how I am now, is you got to find the positive, or you drive yourself crazy.
Well, so you were 50 or almost 50 when you sort of bottomed out?
Yeah.
Because normally if you bottom
never
out...
really thought of it that way, but yeah, I guess you're right.
At 50, you just sort of stay there.
That's right. And I just dug deeper and I have someone like Reve in my life that it was brutal. What I went through was something I wouldn't want anyone to go through. Losing your houses, your cars, your image, your everything, and it was really hard. But I thank God for that, because I wouldn't be here right now on the Adam Carolla show had I not gone through all of that horrible stuff. It made me dig deeper and say, okay, what kind of man is Neal McDonough? What do you really stand for? What do you want to do with your life? What do you want your kids to look up to you and say? And, my kids are all doing so well in all their different things in sports and school. And now we're here, it's pretty remarkable where I am right now.
So how did you get to your lowest in your opinion, and what was that journey down? I mean, was it just work dried up and bills piled up?
Yeah, I mean, work came to a stop. For 2 years I couldn't, and I'm the guy who was always working. I was a character type of guy who was working nonstop.
And how concerted an effort was it to have you not work in Hollywood?
I couldn't get an audition. I couldn't get a meeting. I couldn't get anything because everyone thought I was just. They pushed me out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What would that have been, like 2000
2010 is when it was. So it was 15 years ago.
2010.
Yeah. I don't want to go back that far and talk about all this stuff. I'd rather talk about the future and where we are now. And
yeah, I know.
It was a tough time. We all, it was what it was. But there's a piece of me that thanks them because maybe I was just taking my career with too much of a cavalier approach, perhaps. Maybe I wasn't digging deep enough as a man of faith or using my talents to the best that I could, and maybe I got called out on it.
Well, I mean, there is a thing. It happened to me a little bit at the beginning of my career where stuff just came easily. You know? Like, I didn't know how hard it was to get a TV show on the air because I would just get TV shows on the air and there wasn't a problem.
Right.
And then at some point you realize, it's really difficult to get a TV show on the air and to have it run multiple seasons. It was early and often and kind of easy. And so, I don't know, almost like an athlete who didn't need to practice that hard.
Right.
It sort of came easily, but then at some point you get a little bit older and you realize, no, you gotta practice a little harder. And you think, why? Never had to do it in the past. It's like, well, now you do. And did it come easily for you at the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, I had 15 years of just always working, from all the projects I did. So I was always fortunate with that. But I think you're kind of right. I think that if I were a quarterback, maybe I wasn't throwing as crisp as I was, or as I should have, or I could have. So when I came back and did Justified, that was my shot back at the title. And Graham Yost wrote me some beautiful stuff, and that was one of my favorite things I've ever done. I just let loose, and I didn't have any fear or care of what anyone thought. So I think as an artist, I changed quite a bit from pre-Justified to after Justified, where every role that I got, my dad said, if they give you $1, give $2 worth of effort. And I prided myself on really working incredibly hard at every character, not worrying what anybody else thought, but what was the character, and really find the truth of that character and not let audiences down. And by doing so, it's been pretty remarkable for the last 10 years.
And were you religious when you were younger and you sort of drifted away from it, or you had a sort of reacquaintance with your religion at some point?
I mean, my mom and dad were always, when I grew up in Boston, I lived right across the street from a church. So my grandmother would, grab me by the ear daily and walk into church, into an empty church daily, all the time. And still to this day, I try to stop by a church every day, whether it's a temple or a mosque or church or whatever, a place of worship. I like to stop by and just say thanks for 5 minutes. That's just my thing. And it grounds me and it makes me realize how fortunate I am to be who I am and where I am. So I was always very close to God. I was always talking to him, but I think there was probably a time there, in the late 2000s, maybe I wasn't thinking about God so much. I was thinking more about stuff, thinking about the shiny new car, the big house, or all those kinds of things. And those things, which I found out, aren't real. They'll be taken away from you if you don't do the right things. And that's really not what isn't really important in life either. What's important in life is your relationship with your wife, your relationship with your kids, and paramount to all that is your relationship with God, for me. And I don't care what your religion is. God created us all. That makes us all brothers and sisters, and we should all just be rooting for each other that much more instead of fighting about who's right, who has the right religion, who's the right color, who's the right race, who's the right creed, who's the right... Gosh, it's exhausting when you really think about it.
It is. It's funny. I said to somebody once, I said, when you think about sort of, you look at the Earth's calendar and how long it's been here and how long humanity's been here and how long we're here, relative to the calendar, I don't know, 10 minutes on one day of the year is basically you if you make it to 80, And I thought, everyone else who's here when we're here, we should be looking at them and going, isn't this crazy that we're here at the same time?
Right, yeah.
Instead of punching them.
That's right.
We should be going, this is crazy, because there was these times way before us, and there'll be times way after us.
Haven't we learned from the past?
For this one moment, kind of crazy that we're just here.
Right.
And instead we're throwing in, we're carving a swastika into the guy's Tesla. You know what I mean? That's that guy and you guy. If you look at my Earth calendar, you're both just here for it's stupendous that you would both be here at the same time.
And it's a gift that we are here.
Yes.
So since it is a gift, shouldn't we just enjoy the present that much more? The present of having that gift of being here at this time instead of worrying about what everyone else thinks about you. I tell my kids, when you're playing sports, you can't worry about who you're competing against. You can't worry about what they think. All you can do is be the best version of you. And my dad was like, he pounded that into me.
Really?
Pounded it into me. Don't worry about anybody else. Just be the best you that you can be. And when you do that, you don't have any fear. You don't have any angst. You don't have anything. It's just in the moment. Always try to be in the moment. And Reve my wife is incredible at, your 2 feet are planted right now. Where are you? What's it all about? And what are you going to do about it?
Hey, you were a real good baseball player growing up, right?
Hockey too, yeah.
And hockey.
I make the joke that all these teeth are fake and this nose has been broken so many times it's straight now.
From hockey.
From hockey. Gosh, I love hockey.
And in baseball, did the Pirates? Did you enter the AAA or did you get?
No, I was contracted by the Pirates at the same week I was offered my first movie role, Lou Gehrig in the Babe Ruth story.
Really?
And I called my dad and I said, Dad, I got a dilemma. He goes, what is it, son? I'm like, well, I got offered a contract by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Really? What are they paying you? I'm like, well, it's a $1,700 signing bonus to start with, but then after that, who knows? You go, oh, don't worry, it's not about the money, son. What's the other one? And I said, well, I just got offered Lou Gehrig in the Babe Ruth story. And he said, wonderful. How much are they paying you? And I said, $50,000. He hung up on me. And it was the best advice I ever got in my life. And, I've always loved acting since I was a kid with 5 older siblings. My job was to entertain everyone. Mm-hmm. So it was just kind of this natural progression for me to be the entertainer. And for me, when I was pitching, it was my entertainment. It was just pure joy. I loved pitching. I just loved baseball, and I loved every sport that I play. But there's something about getting in front of a camera where nothing else in the world exists. When I become this character where I can just method my guy in and out seamlessly, where I can just, when they call action, I'm not Neal anymore. I'm this character, whatever I play. And then when they call cut, I can snap out of it. And Reve taught me that years ago when I was doing Band of Brothers. I was living my character. I used to live my character 24/7. I was pure method actor. Took the beds out of my hotel room when I was, a soldier and something, or doing just crazy stuff to get into a character.
Sleep on the box spring or the floor.
Sleep on the
whatever.
floor. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. For months when I did a movie called Ravenous, which is one of my favorite movies. But Reve, about 2 months into dating, she was like, look, unless you can figure out how to turn it on and off, this isn't going to work. You're going to drive yourself crazy and everyone else around you crazy. I was like, I'm a trained actor from Lambda in London. I went to Syracuse. What are you talking about? You can't. And after 2 days of being all by myself without Reve, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I think she's right. And from that time on, I've learned how to keep my method style, but be able to turn it on and off. And it's pretty awesome.
So you're big into sports, high school, hockey, baseball, and that's sort of the dream, I guess, when you're young. Was it sort of hockey, baseball, acting, or how would you put those when you were a young man?
I think we talked about it earlier. I think when I was a kid, my brother Gerard and I snuck into the movie theater in Hyannis, where I grew up, and The Sting was playing. And when I saw The Sting and I saw Paul Newman for the first time, I was like, I want to be like that guy. I want to be in movies. I want to entertain people. This is really kind of cool. And then I just kept watching his movies. And that's really what kind of got me moving forward into, I think, well, if he can do it, why can't I do it? I was just this dumb, confident kid.
Well, you got the same eyes.
That's true.
Got that going for you.
And here I am now because of, really a lot was because of Paul Newman when I started with. And so for me, I guess acting was always the top of the list for me. That's what I really wanted to do, and to get to play different characters and different athletes. And now to get to, I knew nothing about bull riding when I wrote this. It was, I was doing a Western, The Warrant Part 2 that Reve and I were producing. And I hate being away from Reve and the kids. And when I'm on location, we were in Arizona. I was driving home one day and I just pulled over to the side of the road, just overcome with, oh gosh, well, I can't do this anymore. And the thought came into my head, what would ever happen to me if something happened to Reve?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Your wife.
My wife. And I'm looking out in the field and I see horses. And all of a sudden this idea came into my head. This is not from me. I know this came from above. Write a script, Rocky on a Bull, about a grandfather who's losing his grandson to the same thing he lost his wife to, in brain cancer. And within 24 hours, I kind of voice dictated what the outline of the film was. And within a week, my writing partner and I wrote our first draft. And a week later, it was sold and set up. And then 2 years, almost to the date, it's in the movie theater. That doesn't happen. That's nothing but a gift from above, that everything lined up. I got my favorite director of all time to direct it. I got two of my best friends in Hollywood to be in it, Michael T. Williamson, who's Bubba Gump, Christopher McDonald, who Shooter Gavin, from Happy Gilmore.
Sure.
And it was just, and we got to use all the PBR writers. And Sean Gleason, who's the president of PBR, made the movie look like you were at a PBR event. He gave us everything. He gave us the top bulls. He gave us all their riders playing themselves in the movie, which made this great authenticity to the film. So all these things lined up and everything worked together, and here we are now on the Adam Carolla show, talking about my favorite movie that I've ever been part of is this one right now that's about to come out.
Well, is it fair to say, because I've said quite a few times, because I just wrote a short script for a commercial parody that popped into my head, and I was talking to somebody and I said, I got this funny idea. It might be funny if we just do it. I used to do a lot of this when we did the Man Show. I would sit around, do a lot of writing for bits and 5-6 page, minute and a half commercial parodies or something like that. But it was fun. It was like a fun little challenge. And so I had this idea, and I hadn't done it in a long time. It's not really the business I'm in anymore, but it was been rolling around my head. And so at some point, I went to the next room, and I had a guy sit down, and I just dictated this thing as fast as I could. And then a guy I was talking to before, I said, I got it. I did it. I sent it to you. Check it out. And he went, you did it? That didn't take any time. And I said, if the idea is good, it goes fast.
That's right.
And and I would tell people all the time, and they go, I got this idea for whatever, a movie, a commercial parody, a song, anything. But every time I tried, I just can't get it down. I was like, the idea is no good.
That's right.
Leave it alone.
Yeah.
Because the good ideas, you can't type fast enough to keep up with a good idea. And it flows.
It flows.
And if it's not flowing,
it's not a good idea.
Yeah, you can try to approach it from a little different angle or bounce it off somebody else, but after a couple attempts at it, maybe it's not a good idea.
That's right.
And I've always felt that way.
But that's part of the work, isn't it? Because by just flushing your soul out or your brain out with all these different ideas, the good ones always rise to the top.
Yes.
And then you have to take advantage of that. And I mean, look at your career. Look what you've done in the last 25 years, whatever it is. It's kind of incredible. You know what I mean? And
I don't think of it that way.
Well, of course you don't think of it that way because that's who you are. You're a good guy who does his work really hard. He works very hard at what he does. That's awesome. Most people don't put that kind of time in.
Well, as I've say repeatedly, when you really know what real work is, which for me was construction for so many years, doing a podcast on a Saturday doesn't really feel like a lot of work, or doing a second stand-up show or a third stand-up show. It just doesn't feel like work, but I come from a place where
that's because you love doing what you do.
Yeah, it's kind of it's interesting.
Don't you love how I put Adam on the spot now? He's backpedaling probably for the first time in a long time. Don't you love that? Isn't it great? You're welcome, boys.
My goal was to get paid for talking and ideas versus moving boxes and moving stuff.
Right.
And all from 0 to 30, I only got paid to move things physically.
Right.
Or make something, frame something, drywall something, move something. And I dreamt of getting paid for ideas. And so then once I got paid for my ideas, I was like, well, that's not work, because the best part of work when you're moving boxes for a living or just physically moving stuff or building stuff, physical, is you get a half hour for lunch, you sit down, and you have a conversation with the guys you're working with, and you have a couple of laughs, and then at some point somebody comes over and yells at you to get back to work, and you go, all right, now back to the work part. But this is the fun part.
I would love to have been in that lunch session with Adam Carolla sitting around with a half an hour with a ham and cheese sandwich and a Coke and say, okay, here's what I feel about life. Boom.
I'll tell you the problem that I had, basically, which is I did it out here in SoCal in LA. Half of the crew doesn't speak English.
Right.
So that was one part. And the other part didn't really speak comedy. So I was kind of falling on deaf ears. Once in a while, there'd be some dude that kind of had a sense of humor, but they weren't attracted to this business, you know?
Right.
So it was a bunch of guys that, you know, they wanted to go to the lake on the weekend, ride their jet ski, and they wanted to get some rims for their van or something. But it wasn't a heady crowd, you know. And I always remember trying to explain the groundlings to them, you know. And they were like, "What is this thing?" And I'd, "Well, it's the groundlings." And they'd go, "What is that?" And I'd go, "It's improv," you know. And they go, "I don't know what that is." Like at the improv, like the club? No, not stand up. Like you make it up. And they'd go. Everything for them would always be, well, how much they pay you to do this?
Right.
And I'd go, no, you don't. They don't pay you. You pay them.
You pay them, exactly.
To do. Hold on. You pay them to make stuff up? Yeah. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but you sound like an idiot.
That's right.
And when do you do this? Oh, I do it at night after I do this.
After a long day of work.
And they go, so you cost $350 to be in a class where you make stuff up, but you never get paid. And I'm like, yeah.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
But if you do a good job, they'll let you take another class.
That's right.
Where you pay them more.
For $500.
And they're like, get the hell out of here. And they never knew what I was talking about. And I used to sort of question it myself because at some point, a guy'd pull up in a new truck, and it was a big deal if somebody got a new truck, you know, and they go, he got a Ford Ranger with the V6 in it, the crew cab. And everyone would come out and look around. Like,
that's right.
Oh, where'd you get it? We got it at Galpin. It's like, oh, wow. And then they'd see my piece of crap Mazda with the beater, you know, and they'd go, well, you know, you stop taking those groundlings classes,
you'd have
you
enough
get
to
the
buy the
money.
Ranger.
You could get the Ranger then, you idiot. And then I'd be like, yeah, because the groundling payment's about the Ranger payment.
How many Paul Newman cars do you own? 13. There you go, pal. I think you did good, kid. I think you did good.
Yeah.
I think you did good.
But I really had the thought, it's like, I go, but if I buy that truck, then I got to make those payments.
That's
then
right.
I'm locked in, and I can't do something else because I need that payment, you know? And I struggled with it, but I thought about it a lot.
But you knew at a young age that you had some kind of gift. You couldn't probably put your finger on it, but you knew there was something there. So,
I didn't know if anyone else would ever know. I felt like I had an ability, but I had almost no faith that anyone else would recognize that. So it's a kind of a weird relationship with confidence. It's like you going, I think I'm the best looking eligible bachelor at this sock hop, but then the next part of me is, but no one's going to dance with you.
Right.
So that's the way I felt.
Interesting.
I don't know. It's a weird place. It's a weird place to land because I did know I had an ability, and it couldn't be argued with because I understood it, but no one in my family ever talked about it or nurtured it or, you know, watered it.
Right.
So I was like, all right, you have an ability that no one cares about.
Well, you know, as a young kid, if I didn't entertain my brothers, they'd just beat me up. I mean, they would torture me. They'd try to light me on fire, throw knives at my feet, lock me into the dryer, do whatever it took. I also learned how to turn the tears on in an instant.
Oh, really?
So it was the greatest acting classes I ever had were, you know, my brothers called themselves the executioners 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if I didn't...
Were they all older?
I was a mistake kid. Yeah,
oh,
my mom always said I
wow.
was the best mistake she ever made. Thanks, Mom.
So you were the youngest.
So I had a tough audience
in
right
Boston,
out of the chute
too. With
it was
those
tough.
guys,
it was tough.
See what's screaming free all month long during Pluto TV's April Ghouls. Get your heart pounding with nightmare-fueling classics like Insidious and Bram Stoker's Dracula. Or test your nerves with haunting hits like Urban Legend and Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Pluto TV has hundreds of channels and thousands of terrifying movies, live and on demand. Download Pluto TV on all your favorite devices and start streaming now.
We're living in some sort of sanitized microaggression world now. Like, I don't think they understood what kind of
You get in 3 fights just walking to school.
Right.
That was Boston. It was just different, and it was a tough place. My brothers are tough. They are just tough dudes. I was fortunate that most of my schooling, my parents moved down to Cape Cod, and I lived on the Cape my whole life.
Oh, really?
So it was just this awesome place to grow up. And I think my parents, knowing that I loved sports, but knowing that I loved, I wanted to be an actor at a young age, but from 1st grade through 8th grade, I never made any plays. I got cut from every play. I was a tooth in one play and a tree in another. That's all I got. And then finally, my freshman year, I auditioned for You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown as Snoopy. And the director's like, wow, you're really good. Where are you from? And I said, I'm from here. And he goes, how come I've never seen you in any of the shows? I'm like, I know. No one's given me a shot. And he goes, well, you just got your shot. You're going to be Snoopy and You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
How old were you?
14. Mm-hmm. And my first night that I did it, my mom would go at home and we'd work the numbers together. She was a really good piano player. And we would just work the numbers, work the numbers, prepare. And my opening night, my first music cue came and I froze. And I looked out at an audience of 700 people. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I looked down in the audience and there was my mom sitting in the front row. And then all of a sudden I got it and I sang the song. And everyone thought I was joking when I paused. Everyone said, oh, that was pretty cool, dramatic pause you did. I'm like, no, I was crapping my pants. And then after that, I got a standing ovation. And I was like, okay, this is it. This is what I know I'm really good at.
How's your singing voice?
Still really good. I did musicals. I still do musicals. The last one we did, I played Annie up in Vancouver a couple years back and just had the greatest time. It was... any time I get in, and being on stage, last summer I got to play Whitey Bulger on stage back, a one-night show back in Boston. And to do that in front of the hometown crowd playing Whitey Bulger was just kind of, we didn't rehearse. I rehearsed twice on Zoom. The rest of the cast had been rehearsing for months. I was doing a show. I was doing Tulsa Gang? I think it was Tulsa Gang. I forget what it was. And I got to Boston and the director's like, you're ready for this, right? I'm like, yeah, I got it. Where are my spots? And he goes, you're going to be here for that part, here for that, here for there, here for that, here for that. I'm great. And then all of a sudden, again, nervous before I got on stage, but as soon as those lights go up, nothing exists except for who I am as a character. And I got up on stage and there's people screaming out, we love you, Whitey, next to, you SOB, you killed my blah, 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 which as playing Whitey just fueled me even more. So I just dug deeper and it was one of the most electric performances I've ever been part of. And it was, again, to be on stage and show it all to my family and friends and half of my high school from Barnstable High School was like, are you kidding me? This is a dream come true. And I'm one very lucky, blessed dude.
Well, they say that, the key to happiness is gratitude. And I have trouble in the gratitude department. But every time they go, you gotta have gratitude because that's what really makes you happy. And Skeet happen, and you go, yeah, of course, because if you're sitting around thinking about things that didn't work and lamenting things or saying I should be here instead of there, you're not going to be happy. You can't. You just can't. But it's a kind of it's a sad default setting that I think a lot of humans have.
Most do.
Most. And it's sort of I always describe it as this way. Like if you have a tooth and the tooth is achy and it hurts, you'll just flick it with your tongue throughout the day. And every time you do it, it hurts a little bit.
That's right.
And you'll just do it again.
Keep doing it.
And it's sad. Like it's a sad default setting. And I'm trying to think now, religion is good because it gives you gratitude. I don't know that it gives you gratitude, but it helps facilitate gratitude. And I'm trying to think of how one maintains a gratitude in a vacuum of religion. And it's doable. Well, I feel like you have to work harder at it.
For me personally, I grew up Catholic. My kids go to Christian school. but for me personally, I don't really consider myself. I don't really consider myself a really religious person. That word can be misconstrued on so many levels.
Mm-hmm.
I've read every book, from the Quran to the Torah to the Bible to the Book of Mormon to the Taoism to everything. And there's bits of all of them that all kind of say the same thing. Just be nice to each other. Love each other. Be kinder to each other, and your life will be blessed. And it's true. And it's like you just said, Adam, gratitude is kind of everything. Yes. If you truly are grateful for what you have, like for this moment that you're in right now, where you are in wherever you are in this world, if you really think about all the gifts that you have at your fingertips and all the things that have been given to you, you got to be grateful. You have to really think about it and say, holy smokes, I'm here. How did I get here? And isn't this pretty awesome that I'm here? Because I could be someplace a lot worse. I could be dead.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And then here's the question, though. If you are, how do you maintain or create gratitude if you have essentially a list and there's like, okay, I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to fix this and I got to take care of that. I got to pay that person or I got to fix this thing. And then it's just baked in that it's not all going to work how you'd like it to work, like sort of according.
And it generally doesn't.
Yeah, no, it generally doesn't. A fire hits. I'm in Malibu. I leave in the middle of the night. It's been months. I've not gone back. Grabbing socks and underwear, but displaced. Go look for a house to buy. Find a house. Put a bid in on the house. Don't get the house.
Right.
Go find another house. Have the same thing happen again. Like, you have these conversations. Like, found a house, and I liked it, and I said, "This is the house." And I'm talking to the realtor, and I go, "What should we do? Because there's be a couple of people want this house, And he goes, "Well, we'll just put a bid in at asking, and then if it goes up, we'll come." And I said, "Okay, but make sure they understand that I'm putting the bid in at asking, but if, I can move up a little because I really want this house." And they, "Oh no, you'll be in the conversation. We'll figure it all out." They gave their word. They're not going to sell this house without notifying They'll give you a chance to counter. 2 days later, talk to the guy, the house sold.
Yeah.
I go, "What happened?" They took their bid, and then they took someone else's bid. It was higher, and that was that.
That's
I said,
right.
"Well, what about the whole counter conversation?" "Yeah, well, they didn't do it." And I'm like,
but you
all right,
can't,
I'm not grateful, but I should be.
But you can't worry about other people's integrity and their word.
No, I totally.
All you can live by is your word and what you stand for, right?
I
or
get it.
Or else you'll be let down by so many people.
No, I know. It is. It's incredible. And I'm like, well, what about the conversation that we had about countering? And they're like, yeah, well, he didn't do it. He said he would, but they went somewhere, another direction. And I'm like, okay. So then the question is, how do I maintain my gratitude when I'm on the phone with the guy and he's telling me the house is gone?
I didn't say having gratitude all the time is easy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no. Sometimes it's brutally hard, but once you realize when those brutal things do happen to you, how grateful you are to have had that opportunity first and foremost.
Yeah,
and to enjoy the moment that you're. I know it sounds corny, but that's just who I am. And
well, can we say it to you this way? There's a micro gratitude and a macro gratitude.
True.
So you should live under a macro gratitude umbrella, right. But it's not like if someone cuts you off on the freeway, you're going to have gratitude toward that person.
Sometimes
micro.
I want to punch a guy in the face.
Right,
that's just being the Irish Catholic in me growing up in Boston.
That's micro stuff.
That's right.
Right. So
that's the stuff that trips you up.
Right. So there's going to be micro digressions, but macro live under that umbrella of gratitude.
That's a good way of putting it.
Oh, it is?
You're a pretty clever guy.
He's a
clever guy, isn't he?
I should write that down. So you're a pretty blessed guy because of, most people either get the brains or the brawn. They're not artistic and, captain of the hockey team or getting asked to sign a contract for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Sorry. Penguins, Steelers. All right, so that's pretty good stuff. And how much of this do you attribute to growing up, how you grew up, and your brother's sort of rough and tumble approach to your childhood? Because, you know, I do think boys need that rough and tumble play.
They do.
And we've tried to remove it, and we've done a pretty good job of carving it out of most kids' childhood. And now we've decided it's like toxic masculinity, and I think a lot of boys are suffering.
Well, I think that coaching so many teams and so many kids, when I was a kid, we played Sandlot everything.
Right.
In the wintertime, we were on the ponds playing hockey. In the summertime or in the springtime, we're out in the field setting up bases and hitting the snot out of baseballs.
Right.
That's just what we did.
Yes.
Now everything's scheduled.
Yes.
Now everything is a practice that has to be by this certain coach. Kids never. I think when kids are at their best in as athletes, it's when they're playing against their buddies. You don't want to win more than when you're playing against your best friend. My best friend growing up, Mark Childs. I've never been hit so hard in hockey in my whole life. And I saw him coming, but I couldn't get out of the way in time, and he smoked me and knocked me out.
Really?
Still my best friend. Mm-hmm. You know, and then the next shift out there, I was just going after him. And that's part of just playing Sandlot pickup sports. Everything is so scheduled now for kids that it's hard for kids to really dig deep in athletics, I think. It's really hard. At our house, we have 5 kids. I'll toss a ball in the backyard, and I'll say, all right, guys, go play for the next half hour. And I'll go outside, or I'll look at the window, and I'll stare at them, you know, without them knowing. Sometimes I probably do. And they're playing hard against each other. And I think that's what helps them be such good athletes. And our oldest son is off playing D1 golf in San Francisco, University of San Francisco. My next daughter is going to play volleyball, and she's trying to figure out what college she wants to go to now. They love sports. And I see young men in particular, when they're not playing sports, which a scheduled sport, they're home playing Fortnite, or they're playing video games. And it's hard to get them to climb trees and run through the woods and break things or snap things or get in fights with the kid next door. That doesn't happen anymore. It's just a different time for young boys. And it's, you know, I kind of, Reve's really good at it and making the kids go out and run around and do stupid stuff. You just don't come home. Just go out. When we lived in Canada for 7 years, give it up for Tawasin. Love you guys up there. You know, Morgan or Catherine, our oldest two, they would get on their bikes and come back when it got dark. You can't really do that in LA.
No. So
I miss that part of Canada, that it was just kind of like how I grew up in Cape Cod. You know, would I let my kids go out on a barely frozen pond and go play hockey now without testing it myself? My parents never tested the ice. You test it yourself, see if it's safe enough. Right. So I'd shoot a puck out in the middle of the ice and have our dog chase after it. And if the dog got to the puck, it was good. If the dog didn't get to the puck, the dog knew, oh, well, it's starting to crack, I'm going backwards.
Oh, the dog would tell you.
That dog was awesome. But now everything's...
You need a big dog to test it?
He was a pretty big... Yeah, Val was a pretty big... He was a Labrador, so he was a pretty big boy. A girl, I should say. So I think it has changed. I think it's tougher for young guys to be guys anymore.
Yeah, and I think the chickens are coming home to roost. I'm feeling it. Like, I'm seeing it out there. I'm just kind of sensing it. And we've been trying to talk boys out of being boys, and everyone's on pharmaceuticals now.
Yep.
And everyone's whatever. All these things they're suffering now is because we tried to sanitize the world for them, and we've weakened their system. It's no different than the astronauts in the Space Center. You know, they get weak when they stay in a zero gravity environment for too long. You just lose muscle mass and bone density. Yeah.
So again, it goes back to I can't really control anything out there. You know, all I can control is what I do as a dad. And when our kids see mom and dad working hard to make movies, when they see us, you know, I'm in the gym in the morning at our house, busting it, working hard, taking my protein, Flip My Life is this protein powder this company that I'm part of now, pounding that stuff. And they say, oh, Dad, can I have some? Yeah. Now they're taking Flip My Life shakes and, you know, doing certain things to make sure that they're in shape and getting it, because they see mom and dad working hard and things are going well for mom and dad. well, I want to be like that. If they're working hard, then I should work harder. So our kids, I guarantee you right now, my daughter Clover is in the backyard shooting baskets. I guarantee it. You know, and probably playing with our youngest son, Jammer. And London is probably upstairs in her room doing ballet and working her pirouettes and such, because Jammer's a dude. He's going to be a tank.
Is his name Jammer?
His name is James, but quickly it became Jammer, and it was just this boy's boy. And you know, our oldest son is 6'5". Jammer's going to be bigger than him, so I'm really nice to Jammer.
Your wife's 6'3", right?
She is, yeah.
So that's where a lot of that height comes from, right?
For sure. I'm 6'1", when, you know, so it's, you know, I thank Reve for the height, because those genes have played very well with our kids in their athlete. Our oldest daughter's almost 6'3". Clover's 13 and she's 6'1".
6'1" at 13.
London is 5'6" and probably tapped out. She's like, this is as tall as I want to be, because I want to be a movie star. I don't want to be an athlete. So everyone kind of got what they wanted. You know, it's pretty awesome.
So you, even though you're this star athlete, you have this acting bug early, and it doesn't sound like your brothers got bit by it, but I don't know. And then how do you really account for that?
I think my parents would just, you know, my oldest brother was a professor for 30 years, and my sister went over to Ireland and started her own newspaper in Galway. Next brother has a hedge fund in Boston who does really well. The next one, again, this brainiac professor. And then another brother owns his own sign company for the last 40 years. He was, you know, maybe my best friend on the planet. My brother Bob and I talk daily, all the time. So, you know, it's, but they all were fighting, beer drinking guys in high school. And my mom said, if you don't drink in high school, I'll buy you a used car by the time you're all done. And so she had so much faith in me doing whatever you want. And my dad was, again, if you're going to do something, be the best you can. And I just loved theater. I loved being on stage. I think that's why I was such a good pitcher, because I loved being on the stage of a mound. Yeah. There was something to that to me that, you know, I know our oldest son, Morgan, in golf, he loves that moment of standing over a ball, nothing exists, and just smashing it. And and I owe it all to my parents, and they've instilled that into me, and now we're putting it into our kids. And Reve's parents are the same. She was a top athlete in South Africa and 6'3" supermodel, and yeah, I'm a lucky dude.
What was her sport?
A couple of them. She broke records in high jump.
Really?
She was unbelievable high jump, yeah. But netball, which is kind of like basketball without dribbling and without a backboard.
That is so funny. I was just, I was interviewing Tiger Woods' caddy the other day, and he said netball.
It's an awesome sport.
And I think he said cricket and rugby and netball.
Obviously,
for the girls, he said.
He's either from Australia, South Africa, New Zealand. Yeah. Okay.
And I was like, he was just talking, so I didn't stop him, but I wanted to circle back to, I got the rugby and I got the cricket, but netball I didn't get. And so I just let him go. But it's funny, I just thought about netball.
Hey, there it is.
So it's basketball minus the backboard.
And no dribbling. So
and no dribbling.
You take 2 strides, you get to pass it. 2 strides, you get it. Or it might be 2 or 3. I think it's 2. 2 strides, you get to pass it. So you're flying up and down. And I remember over this one tournament in Thousand Oaks a couple of years ago, of the 4 games, the total score was 101 points for Reve's team. She scored 97 of them.
Wow.
She was a freak. She could just bury it. It was just great to watch. Well, plus at 6'3", she could out-rebound anybody.
She'd be in the WNBA
she would.
Now if she was out here, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure. She loves it. Look at that.
We're watching a clip of it. Huh. Well, you'd think a pickleball could catch on out here. This could
give me no duels and a bucket of nuts. And this is perfect right here.
It's kind of interesting. I never thought about what it would be without dribbling, but it makes it
awesome.
It better.
It's a great game. It's a great game.
Wow, netball. Who the hell knew? All right, the film, The Last Rodeo, in theaters, May 23rd. Angel Studios, love those guys. Support. You know, they're such good guys. Good. I was talking to my guy, booked stand-up stuff, and I go, how does it work with the Angel Studios. Like you do a stand-up special, and then they put it through the guild, and then the guild subscribes, and they get enough subscriptions, and you get a cut of the whatever, and then it goes up on YouTube, and then they monetize it, And I go, like, because this town, I go, well, how do you know they're not just keeping all the money because they just report back to you? I don't have any way of knowing what the guild signed up for. They could just, I got a check for $20,000. I could have got a check for $20. But they're good.
They're so
they're
transparent about everything because they have this earnestness, this honesty. They want to show. They want to show that they're doing the right thing for everyone.
I know. Mike just said to me, just. You know what? You can't really enforce it, but they have a lot of integrity and they're good dudes. And I was like, they are. So I don't worry about it.
And getting to know them, I see the kind of car they drive and I see their homes. Nothing special. An 8-year-old Explorer to fit all the kids in. These guys aren't in it for the money for themselves. They're in it to make the world a better place.
Yeah, I went shooting with them last time we were out there, which was fun. But also, I think they also understand that this is part of the long game.
Yeah.
And the short game, the short grabby game doesn't work. It works for 10 minutes, but this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And everyone I know who got grabby is out. Everyone I know who was pretty honest and long game and took care of and so on and so forth, they're in, and it works out. Like you can say, oh, they have religion or they have integrity, but it's also the model if you wanted to make money.
Oh, it certainly is. You could lie and cheat and steal and say that you are of that ilk and not be it and make money and fine. But I've been really fortunate to be part of companies that when they say they're faith-friendly and faith-based, they really are. Angel is a group that is faith-based. Like this company that I'm part of, Flip My Life. They're a bunch of faith guys. And this other gold company that I'm now on the board of, this new gold, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but Genesis Gold Group. They're this faith-based guys that will help you invest your money in gold correctly. And I checked out all these guys and look at their track records, and they're just good people who want to help. That doesn't happen very often. And certainly in Hollywood, it doesn't happen kind of ever.
No, I know. And I mean, we all know the story, and I can think of many people where they're like, this guy's a manager, and he's got this guy, he's got that guy, he's got me, and he's got Kimmel.
That's why I fired everyone, and the only person running my career is my wife, Rebecca.
Right.
She's my manager.
At some point, it catches up to them.
It does.
And it just does. And so the marathon, not a sprint, man. That's right. That's the way you got to look at it. Neal, always great to talk to you.
Thanks, brother. Thank you.
I'll get you the Newman doc. I'll give you a link to it or something so you can enjoy that.
I love that.
Off the air because
you're my guy.
You're a big Newman fan.
That's my guy.
And he's your motivation. For me, it's cars and Newman. For you, it's acting and Newman, but you're going to see a whole nother side of Newman.
Can't wait.
And I'm going to be in Tacoma, Washington, doing 2 shows at the Tacoma Comedy Club. That'll be this Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday, Spokane, Washington, doing 2 shows over there at Spokane Comedy Club. So, till next time, it's Adam for Neal McDonough and Elisha Krauss saying mahalo.